Hey everybody, it's Ron at Becoming Enlightened Together, and I know it's Tuesday, almost Wednesday. It's 11:30 p.m. I've already did the weekly reading, the reading that I usually do on Sunday. I did it on Sunday. I just didn't post it, and same thing with Monday and also today's reading, which, well, like I say, technically at least the next 29 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, 9 minutes. 9 minutes. It's still Tuesday. So I'll do Wednesday's reading on Wednesday, hopefully. I'm going to be going to, the emergency room and everything else probably a little earlier than usual tomorrow. And I've been spending so much time there. That's why I've been really lacking with everything else. I know I've already stated that a week ago, 2 weeks ago, but I don't see it getting any better, anytime too soon. So I'm really trying to fill in the gaps whenever I get a second, and I happen to have a few seconds here. So anyway, this week tends to look like it's going to be far less karmic-y, although it is talking to and about the karmics in many cases so far. But we're going to see that it's far less karmic-y than it has been the last couple of weeks. Now, from Sunday until today, it was all negative vibrational. In other words, all the runes were turned upside down. So they're reflecting the negative energy of that particular rune. And, well, let's start off with the weekly energy in general. The overall weekly energy is that of Manas in the upright. Okay? Now, Manas in the upright talks about man, mankind, friends, enemies, our attitudes towards other people and theirs towards us. It also talks about things such as the self and modesty and even altruism, things of that nature. So it talks about intelligence and forethought and one's abilities, but it also talks about divine structure, awareness, and that cooperation or aid, if you're needing it, is on the way. It is coming. And of course, it'll be different for every single person out there as to the type of aid or comfort, cooperation that you need, and when it's coming, where you are within the timeline of events. So, Manas is, it's a very, very positive, overall energy for the week. It just tells us, or it reminds us, to be thinking about our relationships with other people. And as it relates to the karmic, to be very aware of those things which are, at least from their perspective, they're attempting to be covert, with their plans, plots, and schemes. So they don't know that you know, for the most part. Now, some cross-watchers out there, if there are, and only have a handful of people that actually register as watching these. So if one of them happens to be a cross-watcher, then at least with one person, they probably know that you know, or at least the possibility of that exists. Now, on Sunday's energy, we had Ingwas, and this is the Lord or the god Freyr's rune. Okay, sometimes it looks like just a diamond. Other times it looks more like, if I can find it, yeah, there you go. I knew I had it again this week. It can look like that, or just the diamond in between. Okay, but they both mean the same thing. And Freyr's rune is typically about, a man's potential in particular. However, as well as referring to the god Freyr himself, he's very, masculine god and things of that nature. So he's usually depicted as such. But this is in the reverse. Remember that. So what we're talking about here is impotence. We're talking about a scattering of one's thoughts and actions. Somebody who is very self-absorbed. Somebody who does a lot of movement. Perhaps they're very busy or seemingly busy at first glance, but they're not producing anything or providing anything or moving forward in any way. So it's wasted movement, so to speak. This person is also, suffering from a disassociation with their surrounding environment. Talks about somebody who's feeling bottled up and stagnant. Somebody who is loaded with and has successfully used many times in the past a very strong seductive force. Masculine or feminine, it doesn't matter. And we have both of those attributes in every person, whether they are actually physiologically male or female. Okay? So, they also want you to believe that when they come back and they start talking to you, that they are making changes, and the start of those changes is actually the end of those changes. In other words, that they've completed something rather than it just being a stage of something. And for the most part, it's the early stages at best. So some people are not even doing the work out there who are karmics, and I've been bringing that to your attention for quite a while now. So there is a distinction between the two types of karmics that we're referring to in terms of those who are starting to see this writing on the wall, so to speak. Another biblical, rendering, but it means something. So, and they are taking action. They are really, really reflecting. They are really trying to understand this and make, some changes. That doesn't mean it's dramatic in most cases. I don't see the evidence of that here. But it's not to say that it couldn't be either, just because it's not written here specifically how that looks. So, and I always tend to like to give people the benefit of the doubt, even though time and again they've proven to me that I shouldn't. But it's just a fact. I hate to say it, and I don't mean to say anything in regards of how that reflects upon you out there, the viewer, or anything like that, but the people that I've had in my life have been, well, just not the best sorts for the most part. Now, yesterday's energy was that of Canes. Now, this one's hard to see. I had to scratch this one in a long time ago. But it looks like a arrow, okay, or a cursor. I don't know. Can you see that? There you go. I guess you can kind of see it in the shadow. All right. In fact, I've actually got that one tattooed on my hand here. Let me see. Yeah, that right there. You can see that. Okay. Now, what Cain has in the reverse actually means is the termination of, something, cycles, maybe a job, a relationship. Can mean termination of just about anything. So that's what it refers to, terminations and endings. It could also refer to a death of some kind. Okay, it refers to disease and someone that's giving up the old. A possible breakup, somebody who's insatiable, somebody who is basically suffering from lack of creativity, somebody who's feeling exposed and naked at this time, and somebody who has finally lost the illusions of any false hope. So they're starting to recognize their karma for what it is, and in some cases at least, not all. Some of them are completely oblivious. They will not accept any responsibility. It's always everybody else's fault. They take no responsibility, even though they steered this karmic car, into that wall themselves. Nobody else helped them at all. Okay, that's not to say there weren't other, parties involved. There could be multiple karmics in your situation, depending. But in terms of the ones that we're referring to here, they took the steering wheel into their own hands and they guided it where they willed it. So, all right. So that is yesterday's energy, and today's energy was that of Yera in the upright. Okay. So today started the first positive energy that we got, aside from the overall energy of Manus, which is just again about mankind, basically humanity, self-awareness, and things of that nature. Okay, so our dealings with one another. With Yera, what we have is basically harvests, cycles. What we see is, the rewards and so on for our earlier efforts, or results of earlier efforts now manifesting. Patience, hope, peace, prosperity, and it growing something. Maybe you started a website or whatever the case may be, and it's growing as a result of your efforts. That's what this energy entails. So that's basically the energy for Tuesday. Now for Wednesday, which, well, we're 1 minute into Wednesday now, is basically the energy, again, of Ingwas, the god Freyr's rune. But this time, Ingwas is in the upright. Okay? So Ingwas for Wednesday's energy in the upright talks about one's potential. And we're talking specifically, or I should say, to the more masculine energies, men in general, but it could also talk about women in some cases who are embodying more of a masculine type of energy. Okay. Now, it also refers to things such as freedom. Again, conclusions or endings of something. Somebody who rises up, some form of heroics. They become a hero in some way, shape, or form. Internal growth, strength, family love. It talks about somebody who has or is endowed with common sense, with intellect, the ability to analyze information and so on. Very similar to that of Tyre. But so it talks about somebody who has common sense and warmth. It talks about, the home, a time of rest, relief, lacking anxiety at this point, or on Wednesday. It talks about also how all loose ends will be tied off at that point, so that you can move freely in the direction that you see and desire to move in. Okay? And the last thing it talks about specifically is listening and learning to trust your intuition. Okay? There's a lot of that in the runes, especially in the first and the third family in particular. But there's, inklings of it all throughout. Okay. Now Thursday's energy is that of Wunyo, another very positive rune. No, I'm sorry, this is Thurisaz, not Wunyo. What am I saying? This is the god Thor's mighty rune, actually, and it too is in the upright. So we've had the god Freyr show up twice, and now Thor shows up in the upright for Thursday's energy. And Thor, the name basically is referring to like a thorn or a giant. Basically, he was half giant if you look at the lore behind him. And he was a protector of both, Asgard, of gods and men, and here, Midgard, Earth. And he protected us against the giants and the monsters and things of that nature, okay? So that's what the energy, more or less, is centered around, protection and defense. In fact, the reactive forces, that Thor will smash his way through any obstacle. He's not subtle. It's also the directed force of both destruction and defense. So it talks about one's will. Within his energy is also regeneration, change, and catharsis. Talks about male sexuality, fertility, and vital eroticism. So there's a lot in here also this week about sexuality. So perhaps some of you guys or gals, but mostly it's referring to the men in this particular case specifically, are about to get busy or rekindle something you already have with somebody else. I don't know. It's non-specific, but it just says there's good energy this week. Starts off a little rocky, as it ended the last couple of weeks. Majorly focusing on the karmics in our life in some cases. Now, Friday's energy, another god, actually goddess, shows up, and this is the goddess Freya. Now, Freya is the twin sister of the god Freyr, who we've already seen twice in this week. So Freya and Freyr, as well as Thorn, are showing themselves 3 out of the 7 days. That's pretty powerful. So Freya talks about anything related to abundance specifically. So cattle, that's what they used, as a form of bartering or trading in those days. Wealth, abundance, material gain, possessions won or earned, your earned income, someone's luck, financial strength now or in the near future, hope and plenty, social success, and creativity. There's more to say about the goddess Freya and the many things that she was endowed with. She is definitely one of the most popular and well-known, I guess you could say, goddesses, in terms of the Norse pantheon. Not the only one, but there's a lot written about her for the most part. And finally, what we have on Saturday is another very powerful rune, also in the upright, which is Urus. And I have this one tattooed on my chest, as it embodies the energy of strength, health, vitality, untamed potential, speed, again, freedom. So we see freedom echoed more than once, action and energy. We see courage and tenacity, understanding, wisdom, sexual desire, masculine potency, and shaping yourself basically, through your will, having a desired outcome of as far as your life, or maybe you in general, what you're capable of doing, or maybe your parents, whatever the case may be, but you've got something in mind that you want to change about yourself. You have the will to do it. It will happen. Okay, that's what this is basically embodying. So as you can see, this week embodies a lot of very, not only powerful, as we got, 3 gods showing up. Yeah, 3 gods showing up. And they show up, 4 times in this week out of 7 days. That's pretty powerful. And being that they're all in the upright, except for one, Sunday. Ingwas was in the reverse. Again, Sunday through Tuesday was all in the reverse. Fairly negative energy. And it starts picking back up at the end of Tuesday and dawning of Wednesday. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the all-week message separate from the others, and I'm going to go ahead, even though it's late, and I'm probably going to do Monday and Tuesdays as well. Okay, and I'll wait. I'm going to go to bed, in an hour or two, and then I'll wake up and I'll do Wednesdays because I got an early day. If I don't do it first thing in the morning, I will do it probably late that night. We'll see. I just do it when I can now. So with that being said, I wish you all the very, very best. God bless. Take care and stay victorious. I'll see you all, in a few minutes, actually. Take care.